Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. Attendance?
Gil McGray,
Here.
Ian Montgomery,
Here.
Don Toner,
Here.
Horace Mooney,
Here.
Rhonda Cameron.
Here.
Our first item is public comments. So we do have some people here. If you need to make comments, you need to,
Can I sign?
you sign?
I already signed.
Shoot. Yeah.
We got one?
Yep, one.
Thank you.
Okay. Then public
Yes, yep.
comments.
All right. That's
Please state your name.
Janet Sean Godley, at 16635 John Davis. Mr. Chair, I'm very pleased to see what you've changed to put on this corner. I'm very happy to see a restaurant that I think will be positive for our community. The only thing that I have to comment about that I passed out some paperwork to you earlier is on light pollution. I would just ask that whenever this does get built, that you would be very conscientious about the type of lighting that we put there, simply because of the closeness to the dunes, the ecosystem, our endangered species, but the most endangered species is human also, because this does affect, lighting will affect the melatonin levels in the human body. It can also cause, it says fatigue, stress, headaches, anxiety. And in one of the articles that I did put for you to look at, it does cause, has been known to cause certain cancers. So I would just ask that we be conscientious about the type of lights and the amount of Kelvin that we use, so that it may be advantageous for human and the sea life around us. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay. The next item is review and approval of the last meeting minutes. Someone make a motion on that?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes as they are.
Second.
There we go. I'd like to also make a motion to waive the.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like
Any
to also.
opposed?
No.
Alrighty.
Okay. Second item is to discuss and consider for action the final report on the textual changes to the zoning code, ordinance 2017-1. Someone make a motion to that?
I'd make a motion to accept that as we have previously discussed, and we've already advanced that to council.
Correct. So one of the things we had to do is just put together a final report, and that final report has the two different planning and zoning meetings in which we discussed the issue, the joint meeting with city council, and then this evening, if it is further reaffirmed, that's made part of the final report that will be given to city council for consideration next month.
And I guess I could redo that and just say, I make a motion to be accepted as discussed and written in this document.
I second it.
Second. Everybody in agreement, ayes?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes, whatever. Anybody that does not agree? Okay, we're there. Okay, number 4 is to discuss the general land use plan presented by Alfio Fitzgerald for proposed restaurant at 16515 FM 305. If appreciate, consider for action. So,
If you would like to get an overview of your project.
yeah, if you would.
I'm Alfio Teixeira, and I own the property at 16515 FM 3005. And I propose to build a restaurant there. The restaurant will be approximately 6,000 square feet. It's on the plan. It'll have parking for 50 cars, approximately. The building will be constructed to meet all city codes, all IBC codes that the city of Jamaica Beach is adopted to, because every city adopts different codes. As far as lighting, I'm very sensitive on that. What lighting we will have nothing that's more than LED, but it will comply to all codes, and there should be something in the IBC code that limits us to what we can do, but we would comply with that. I don't believe in lighting issues to pollute the air. The building itself will be constructed on the foundation is going to be called a podium foundation. It's really a very expensive method. It's concrete piling with subpilings, and the floor itself is concrete. It's not a wood post and wood floors. It's the most premier. If you're coming into Galveston and you're exiting 61st, you'll see a new hotel going in. It's 3-story. It's on a podium foundation. Very expensive, like 3 times the cost of wood, but it's permanent. And the framing of the building will be stick frame, which is wood construction, 2x6 and larger timber. It'll have hardy board, and the architecture will be very nautical. It'll have all impact glass. It'll have parapet around the roof system. So from the street, you won't see any air conditioners, any ventilation systems. Everything is shielded. It'll be quite architecturally nice. I mean, for y'all who don't know me, I built the major restaurants on the island: Fisherman's Wharf, Fishtail, The Spot, The Waterman, Mario's, Papa's, Starbucks, Sunflower Bakery. I built all those restaurants. I mean, restaurants are one of my favorite things to build and to eat at. But it would be pretty state of the art. It has a covered deck facing the state park, and it will have elevator to get you upstairs, and as well as stair systems, but it'll be all ADA compatible. It'll be very energy efficient. It'll be all foam filled walls. It'll sit comfortably 150 people. That's inside and out. It'll have landscaping. I'm not going to have. We'll have where the perimeters again will comply to the code. Where the adjacent residential property, there's something on the drawing for some fencing. I hired Tricon Surveying to do a dune tow line that shows the distance we are from the dune line tow to the property. We already did it by computer, and we should have no problem with any of it, but we'll have everything that will be submitted with the plan as well. When the plans, if approved, the plans will be drawn for review and approval. But if I can answer any other questions, I'll be glad to. A little bit about the restaurant. It'll be really, I don't want to sound ridiculous, but it'll be the best thing on the west end of the island. I mean, the man who's going to run this, Rico, really runs the Riondo's down on 24th and Strand. He's considered one of the top 5 chefs in Texas, and you'll have a choice of a lot of different foods, from something simple to something very, very ornate. I mean, this man makes his own bacacho bread. He makes his own cheese. It's pretty amazing. And on weekends probably we'll have brunch as well. But about all I can. If anybody's got a question, I'll be glad to answer. We will be using the 2 existing approaches that is in the plan that are there now for access in coming and going. We have an area showing where our dumpster area would be as well, but again, once it's drawn, the city has look at it, make sure that it complies to everything, which our engineers and architects will, you know, they know what the codes are, but first we gotta see if we can do it, and if then we can do it, then we'll draw it for review and approval, and then we can go from there.
What do they wind up, what's your elevation gonna wind up on?
We'll be about 13 feet off the ground to bring it. I will probably build it 14 feet, bring it up an extra foot. You know, the elevations have changed on the new flood map, but it sort of cuts
Yes,
my
they have.
property in half. So I will build it higher because it's cheaper. And 2 feet doesn't really make a difference to me on the system we're using. 2 feet for the columns is not a big deal, and the elevator's not an issue. We're not battling an ADA ramp, because usually that's a problem, because you know, a foot is a lot of distance, but the higher the better, you know, but I'd say probably somewhere around 13 feet from the existing grade.
Sean, did you say something about a wood fence being a problem?
So, no, one of the requirements, would be some type of barrier. It didn't specify whether it was natural or a fence. It just cannot be a solid barrier, that would separate the commercial from the residential property. So, that's something that the Planning and Zoning Commission would have to, want to decide exactly what it is, if it's fence, if it's natural, and then that would be worked into the comprehensive
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Site plan itself.
We built some in Kema for Tillman, and we put posts in, large posts, then we put 2x horizontally, but we left a space in between, you know, for air penetration as well as some water. You know, during a hurricane, whatever you're gonna put as fencing goes, it's gonna go south, so. But we, you know, but we'll put up whatever you require, you know, and make sure it complies. We can give you several options, but it needs to be out of a wood material of some type. Masonry would not be a good material because it would, you know, it would definitely fail faster than it would any wave action. The building I'm not concerned about because it'll be designed, I mean, it'll have subpilings probably 25 feet. I mean, that foundation should withstand 160 mile an hour. And even wave action, you know, shouldn't be. The only enclosure underneath will be the stairway and the elevator shaft, you know, because it's a V-zone, so the rest will be open.
Now, when you submit this next step,
Sure.
hopefully, you know, would like to, you know, make sure that you're aware of GLO requirements.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that's gonna save us all some time.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
Another thing is, it might be good if you could also have an elevation certificate.
Sure, I've got an elevation certificate. When we submit a plan, we bring you a topo showing the existing grade of the site. It shows you the plan showing the finished grade of the parking, shows you the finished grade of the slab, shows the finished grade of it. And we have to have that all in a permit form and in a form. Before we can break ground, we have to buy flood insurance, and we have to have that all in place. And then once the foundation put in place, the surveyor comes out and shoots it and gives a certificate, which we submit to the city. The city's not gonna give us a certificate of occupancy until they have a windstorm certificate, you know, the elevation certificate and everything. And our lenders, they wanna see an elevation certificate immediately once we pour a slab, make sure
Yeah.
it's at the right elevation.
It's gonna help us too. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Start right and end up right.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a process, but, you know, once we know we can do it, then my guys already have everything. They got the soil condition, they're ready to start designing, but I gotta make sure we're all on page, because, you know, just the design is quite a few dollars. And then we bring it in, review, and pencil in what you gotta have, and if there's some changes that you wanna make, and then we get it to a final permit set, and then once we get that going, then we're good. I mean,
Who's your engineer?
I am gonna use, usually I use Aaron and Franklin, but this one here, since it's on this type of foundation, I've got a guy out of, to design the foundation. He designed the Woodlands, he's the one that designed the one on Broadway just now, and, I'm gonna let Aaron and Franklin look at it as well, but this foundation is post-tension cable, and it's all stressed, and these guys, they do it every day, and you know, the pan itself is a foot thick, and we're only putting a 1-story building. They put 3 stories on top of it, but you know, I like to over-engineer myself. We don't need what happened in Louisiana yesterday or the day before. That was terrible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But you know, that what caused that, in my opinion, was lack of enough support. You know, when you pour a floor, you have to leave scaffolding and shoring under it for 27 to 35 days.
Yeah.
Well, somewhere there, that shoring must have failed, and once one thing drops, you know,
And that type of construction.
yeah, and you know, a lot of people didn't realize, like the World Trade Center, the failure there. If you talk to the real engineers and architects, you know, that plane hit and it severed the main water trunk of the sprinkler. They didn't have 4, they just had 1, and it severed it. Well, with that fire, heated all that steel up. We had 44,000 square feet on each floor of concrete, which, and as soon as that steel got hot, it dropped. Well, you drop a 44,000 square feet of concrete, 1 floor, and it just comes down like a domino. You know, it wasn't designed to be hit by a plane, but now I understand all the new buildings are drawn with 4 sprinkler lines, you know, which makes sense.
High chambers, vertical chambers.
Yeah, you know, you got to do that. Matter of fact, this building here, we will also put a sprinkler system inside of it as well. Even though it doesn't require by the square footage, but we will do it because it does make the insurance cheaper as well.
Peace of mind.
Yeah,
So from a process standpoint, because this is a plan unit development, a plan, land use plan has to be submitted and then approved by planning and zoning. After that process, a comprehensive site plan is submitted, and then that's reviewed. After that would be accepted, then he can apply for a regular building permit. So in between the permit, the city's building permit, information will be sent to the GLO because it has to be signed off by the GLO before we can issue a permit. So there's a couple of things that would be going on simultaneously, but planning and zoning's purview would be reviewing the land use plan and then the comprehensive site plan. So,
can I say one thing? So
yeah,
we'll have probably within the week, we'll have the topo back and the distance from our surveyors showing the dune setbacks and everything. Then we could submit our site plan to the GLO, or usually, you know, if we just do that, then they'll wait till we get the full set drawn. If they want to make some comments at the site plan showing where the paving and concrete, my understanding, what I've dealt with them is, long as we're 200 feet away, they don't try to control our fibercrete. And I have no problem with fibercrete for paving. We use it on roads all the time. But the main building itself, on the ground level, it does have to have reinforcement in it, which it is allowed even under the code. Under the footprint. But the rest of it, fiber mesh is really good. You know, we have no problem with it. Matter of fact, a lot of people don't know, but Herds Lane was poured by the city of Galveston. It's all fibercrete. And, you know, fibercrete is a strong product. It's fiberglass mesh. There's different grades of it. The only thing when you pour it, it's got a little fuzz on it, but the sun burns it off. It's a little, we call it hairy.
Hairy concrete.
Little hairy concrete. He's a little shaven, but it works good. And really, you know, rebar itself with salt, you get rebar explosion, and that's why the slab that I want to pour elevated is post-tension cable. So it's really it's like a hose, and the cable is greased and it runs inside, and it's tension, so it's always sealed. And you know, everything, like all my electrical panels and everything on this that are exposed, and I know most people just use regular galvanizer, but like all our boxes will be stainless steel. I mean, my family had a gift shop on East Beach for 20-something years. Anything you put outside will rust. Our windows are vinyl, but they're impact. Our doors are vinyl. Everything that's Hardy is one of the best products ever invented, but we use all stainless steel fasteners, and even our drip edge on our roofs are all stainless steel. And I like to do it one time, you know, and you know, I mean, someday someone will have to do it, but I probably won't be here then. That's hopefully many years away. But anyway, again, I definitely understand we gotta do the GLO thing, and we can, as soon as I get the topo back and setbacks. But I was with my surveyor, and we did it on the computer because he could pull it up, and we shouldn't have any issue with them, but I understand completely that it has to be all, we gotta make everybody happy.
Let's say our concern, what we're gonna be reviewing here is basically is the land use plan, which is
Yeah.
site plan.
Yes,
Our concerns can be very things, the lighting,
yes.
appearance,
Mhm.
landscaping, any of this
Yeah, and
fencing,
in the,
things like that.
Yeah, in the deepest, but.
Signs.
Oh, yeah, in your code, in the International Building Code that y'all are adopted to, it states a lot of that stuff, but, you know, again, we have questions we can call, but it's pretty spelled out, but then, once y'all look at it, we can modify it. You know, we're just doing the first draft, and if y'all wanna do something different, we can do it. The footprint of the building is very important. We took a lot of time in creating that, cause you know, there's a lot of kitchen to it, because it's not, I mean, we have char grill, we have pizza ovens, we have things that make it unique in itself. So if I change the kitchen, the chef will kill me. So I can't change the kitchen.
What's inside the building,
Yeah.
basically, is the code and
Yeah.
your
Oh, yeah,
business.
oh, yeah, we all go.
So our main concern going in, am I
Yeah.
correct? Is gonna be the appearance, the parking,
Oh,
entrance,
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, safety of our residents,
Absolutely.
things like that.
ADA
Codes and
parking.
stuff like
With
that.
the architecture, which you'll get to review, it'll be very nautical, even down to the colors. And like I say, the parapet will have a parapet around the roof, because the roof is not a peaked roof. It's a slight slope roof, but you won't see, I don't like mechanical exposure. I don't like people driving by and seeing air conditioned
Yeah.
units and stuff
And
rusting
this
on
is
top
type
of the
of
roof.
thing. we're-
Yeah, and you know, some cities have, you know, different requirements, but you know, our signage will submit something. I do want to tell you, I want to have our signage, which y'all will have to approve, is not just a little sign. I want to create a sign that that'll be three-dimensional. I don't know if you've ever, on the seawall, if you've ever been by Fisherman's Wharf, it's got the big steel fish that's built out there. I built that. Fish tails, the tail that spins around. Well, we have an idea of a shrimp that's dimensional riding a seahorse. Pretty cool. And with the cowboy hat, no less. Guiders will be jealous. I've already talked to Blaine Kerr, the man who was the top designer for New Orleans for the floats. He's retiring this year, and I've talked to some of their people that they could create it for us. The people that are, the company's shutting down and the new company's taking over. So we would have it done. It would also be illuminated by LED, but it would be a showpiece. But that's something that would have to be approved, and I'm sure, like most installations, we don't put it on a pole. It'll be on called a monument sign. Most cities now don't want a pole sign anymore, they want a monument where it's broad on the bottom, you know, that looks good, but again, one step at a time, that'll be submitted at a point as well for approval, and then if it's good, we'll go with it, if not, we won't do it.
Question about the access off of Jamaica Beach Road.
No.
As far as making sure that the easement for those lots,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah,
okay,
stay like it is.
okay, because one
Yeah,
drawing before, there was a
yeah.
trash ban that
Yeah,
would have
yeah.
hindered their access, so I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
Well, you know, I know Jamaica Beach doesn't want that used as an access to leave or come in, which is fine, I mean,
Right,
you
can't
know,
be.
it can't be, and, there, you know, that can be done. You know, the only thing we might have to talk about down the road somewhere over there, cause is gonna be an issue, cause I had it there one time, but maybe towards the back or something, might have to put, not for our people, cause we have bathroom, but for the beach people, if we don't have porta cans on the beach, you might have to need some porta cans, or else they're gonna be using the bathroom all over the place. You
Oh,
know,
right.
they used to go inside the trash bin, and that was like forget about it. So, but I mean, we'll look at that later. Maybe we can come to something on that. I don't mind putting something that can get cleaned up every other day. You know, not under the building, but towards maybe towards that trash area, because. I mean, it's inevitable people are gonna come inside and use the bathroom, and you're not gonna stop them, you know, we're not gonna say public restrooms, but people are gonna come in. And, you know, I have a lot of respect for that, we were in that business for years, and, you know, I don't worry about the young kids, cause they could use, but the elderly people, we always welcome them in and use whatever, cause, you know, I know how it goes.
I just wanted to make sure wherever you had your trash.
Oh, yeah.
That it was gonna leave access for them to
So one of the
get to
questions,
those.
if you wanted to look at the plans here,
Yeah.
it would be this is where the dumpster is right now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the size of if you're gonna have a front loader coming in, if they're gonna be able to make that turn.
Well,
or if you're
here's
just gonna have
the
your-
dumpsters we use, there'll be 2 dumpsters in here, and we do this all in town. They have wheels under them, they roll them out,
Okay,
and the guy picks them straight up, and then he drives out.
okay.
Yeah, he don't try to make their turn, but even though there is 40 feet here, there'll be plenty. You know, an alley in Galveston is only like 12 feet wide, and we just built a center by the medical center, and the dumpsters, they slide out, the driver pulls them out, and they push them in. And it's
Okay.
much better they don't destroy your dumpster, because if not,
Trying to hook
they
up.
stop when they hear the crunch,
Yeah.
you know?
We run the clearances by with, fire departments.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Kyle was in, last week and he looked at it, he didn't have any specific issues.
Good.
He said worst case, because you can come up on Jamaica Beach Road, access it here, you can come up along the State Park Road here, and then you can come along 3005 because there's 40 feet
foot
off
offset.
of the road itself, so. He was not concerned, he just said, obviously, the fire marshal will have to review the actual building plans themselves.
Yeah, and then like I said, we're gonna sprinkle the building as well, and then,
Do you mind me asking
Yeah.
a question? Is there an entrance off of the road from, the beachside road?
Jamaica.
No.
It's
No.
all
No,
of
there's-
Jamaica.
yep,
Only
so
two.
there-
Two entries.
there was a
Outside.
there was a lawsuit a couple of decades ago, so the only entry and exit to any properties that come off of 3005 would be 3005.
Yeah.
Or Jamaica, or the main road in.
So,
Okay.
and then this would be that small gravel access to,
Yeah.
to the homes back
Yeah.
here. So, questions that you have as planning and zoning? A restaurant in planned unit development is allowed as a permitted use. So there's no special use, special exception that's needed. The process again would be, approving the land use plan and then the comprehensive site plan. So we need to be able to respond with any concerns we have with the land use plan as soon as we can, so corrections can be made, or amendments, or, we go to the next step.
Does anybody have any problem with addressing that this evening as far as approving the land use plan?
No issues whatsoever. No, issue with it.
And I'd make a motion if we accept the land use plan.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded?
I did.
Okay.
I didn't hear any nays, so,
And there were
okay,
5 ayes.
We'll move it to the next step then.
that's it.
Yeah, so the next step,
Yes.
and what I'll do
That's
is,
it.
is I'll send you a copy of the city's lighting ordinance, so you'll have that.
Sure.
We're aware of the fibercrete, I kinda gave you some of that
Yeah.
information.
Oh, yeah,
It looks like
thank you.
we're not gonna have any issues with that. So I will, send that to you, and then once your comprehensive site plan.
Yeah.
Before it's comprehensive, just give us some of your
Yeah,
ideas.
I'll give you a first one. We'll do a draft, and then before we get into the heavy engineering,
Mhm.
we'll give it to you,
Okay.
review it. It'll show it, everything that's there, but it's not gonna say like, this beam is 2x20,
Yeah.
2x12, or.
And, we're not into that.
Yeah, I know that, but then, once that's approved, everything will, when the time comes, everything will be stamped, everything will be, again, it'll comply to your IBC, I don't know what IBC code you're adopted to.
Right now, we're 2012.
Yeah,
Council's considering 2018, in December, so.
yeah, we should have it too before then. I mean, I like to get this thing, if possible, I'm gonna try and run it. I know my engineers they take at least 4 or 5 weeks, they claim, but then there's always a story behind it, but, I mean, I would like to get it in a permit mode, if possible, this year, and start coming out of the ground. The only negative to it, even if we work hard, it won't be ready for summer. It will be ready at the end of summer, so then we have a lot of time for training. Cause it does, the other day I was having lunch with the former mayor of Jamaica Beach, Vic Pearson, who was the mayor for 14 years. And we were having lunch at, matter of fact, in Rihanna's, where the chef is. And he said, Al, I've known Vic for years, and we banked with him as well. And he says, let me tell you, the summer is no question, but I'm gonna tell you, the winter's good too. You got good food, it'll be fine. And, I've researched it pretty thorough. It's like a recipe. Location is important. I don't think there's a better location. We know how to build it, and we have the people that know how to run it. So I think it'll be very successful. Fisherman's Wharf, Fishtail, which those are $10 million a year operations, and we're not doing that, but I mean, we built those, and Tillman Fatita is a personal friend of mine. I mean, matter of fact, I will see him this Saturday. He'll be here for this weekend, but we discussed it with his brother, and they said definitely need it out there, and I'm excited about it, and with the right people, which we have, I think it'll be real good for the whole West End, and it'll be top notch. It'll be very family oriented. I don't like anything unless it's a premier family. We're not creating, I mean, you can buy a drink or a glass of wine, but we're not building a bar. It's definitely nothing like that. I mean, it's nice, but there'll be no issues. I like a very family oriented business, and that's what this will be. Bring your kids, your grandkids, everybody's comfortable. But anyway, I appreciate it, and we'll move forward in the next phase and try to get it put together right away. I'd like to get it moving. If anything we can do, like I say, I'll have something from GLO, for the GLO right away as well. Hopefully I have something back from the surveyors, and everybody just waiting on me to get back and tell them what to do, but I'll turn the guys loose on engineering to start putting stuff together so we can bring it for review. And you send me the stuff on the lighting, please, so I'll make
Yep.
sure we comply to that, and anything you think that we need, but we'll have a few questions as well.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so you say you're on the 2012 now?
We're 2012, and council will be considering 2018 in
Okay.
December.
Well, we might look at both of those, see what changes. It sounds like a lot, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think Galveston's not even at 2000, I think they're at
They're 12.
12 too, yeah. Taking a big jump, aren't you? Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Next thing on the agenda.
Any other business?
Any other business?
None?
No?
No.
Well, I guess just to kind of, for housekeeping over the winter time, we take a look at our zoning map, and, not reconfigure, but update it, from a technological standpoint, not changing the zoning districts, but, just making it more aesthetically
User-friendly.
and so people can see and understand, so that's
Mhm.
something that I'd like to do over the next couple of months as well, so.
Where are
that's-
we with the GLO Dune? Has that been canceled? or-
The GL, we are, still working towards, acquiring easements at this point.
Or what?
Acquiring easements,
Oh, okay.
we're down to 4 easements, and as change of ownership has occurred, we're back up to having 11 outstanding easements. So, that's where we're at right now.
Okay, just curious, catching up. It was a hot spot when I was on council. Anyway.
That's all I have.
You need a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
No nays.
No, no.
No, that's.